Okay, today's Q&A is about refrigerators and ovens, and the question is, are you allowed to open the refrigerator or oven door on Shabbos or Yom Tov? So the Gemara teaches that in order to be Mechal Shabbos, to violate Shabbos, you have to have intention for what you're doing. It's called Meleches Machshavas. There's a whole bunch of different ways that could end up allowing a person to be lenient about certain things. The one that interests us is called Ein Miskaven, which means is the person had just no intention to do the malacha that ended up happening. So in the case of a refrigerator or an oven, a person who opens a door trying to get out some food, he has no intention of trying to turn on the motor, the compressor motor on the refrigerator, or turn on the fire in the oven. So he's in miskaven. He's not trying to do that. He's trying to get out a piece of chicken out, and he has no interest in what the malacha that's happening. However, there is a case where even though the person has appears to be completely in miskaven, the din doesn't see it that way. And that is where it's for sure that the malacha would happen. We call that a psik resha. And an example of that is a person drags a heavy bench across a dirt floor. So the person is just trying to get the bench from here to there. He has no interest in making, furrows in the ground. But because the bench is so heavy, it's for sure that that's what's going to happen. So we say, even though the person is ein miskaven, he's not trying to make the furrows in the ground, the fact that it will for sure happen sort of reflects onto what the person had in mind. And we say, if you want to drag a bench across the floor, then you want to make the furrows in the ground because there's no other way for it to happen. And therefore, that is considered that you were Mechal Shabbos because you had in mind to make the furrows on the ground, even though you might not have thought that that's what you had in mind, so to speak. Now, when we open up our case, when we're opening up a refrigerator door or the oven door, is a variation of that question that the poskim speak about. And that is, what happens if what I'm doing might be a psik resha, but it might not be? Or what does that mean? I mean, in our case, it means like this. Let's say the temperature in the oven or the refrigerator is right by the cutoff. I mean, there's a certain temperature. When it hits that temperature, the motor of the refrigerator goes on or the fire in the oven goes on. So if the temperature in the fridge or the oven is right around that temperature, and when I open the door, it will change the temperature to the point that it will definitely cause the motor or the fire to go on, then that's a psik resha. It's for sure that when I open this door, the fire will go on or the motor is going to go on. So that's one possibility. The other hand, it could be that the oven or the refrigerator is so far away from the temperature inside is so far away from the cutoff that opening the door is not going to make a difference. It's not going to cause the fire to go on. It will make the motor go on. So we have a suffix if it's a psik resha, meaning if we knew there was a piece of information we knew, which is like exactly the temperature on the cutoff, if we knew that information, we would know if it's a psik resha. But it might well be that what I'm doing is a psik resha. So what's the din in that case? So the Mishnah Berurah says that this setup, which is called a suffix psik resha, it's a question in the poskim what the din is. It's unresolved what the din should be about that, and therefore, if what we're talking about is a potential issa deraisa, you should be machmir. If it's just if the worst that could be here is issa derabanan, then you could be mekel. So, in the case of the oven on Shabbos, it's issa deraisa to turn on the fire of an oven on Shabbos, and therefore, it's a suffix psik resha. I might be making the fire go on. Therefore, you should not open the oven door unless the fire is already on. If the fire is already on, my opening the door might make it stand a little longer, but that's not the malach. So, therefore, on Shabbos, when it's a suffix psik resha for a possible issa deraisa, you should not open the door. If that would be talking on Yom Tov, opening the oven door on Yom Tov, causing the fire to go on Yom Tov is only issa d'rabanan. Has to do with the head to the cook and all kinds of complicated things, but it's only an issa d'rabanan to make that fire in the oven go on Yom Tov, and therefore on Yom Tov, suffix psik resha would be mutter, you'd be allowed to open the door. In the refrigerator, both on Shabbos and on Yom Tov, causing the compressor to go on is only an issa d'rabanan, is assumed to be only an issa d'rabanan, and therefore in that case, suffix psik resha is mutter, you can open the door regardless whether it's Shabbos or it's Yom Tov.